Hello, everyone, and welcome to our Sunday evening weekly setup. I saw some people saying, no Sunday scaries here. We're going to get all ready for the week. And that's why I thought a good Jimmy Buffett Come Monday song would be apropos, right? So we are so glad that you are joining us here. My name is Maya, and I am coming to you from Aurora, Colorado, which is a suburb of Denver. And it was very nice today. It was in the 50s, which was nice because we did have some cold earlier. We had some cold on Friday, actually, but yesterday wasn't too bad. We had some snow, but the snow is mostly melted. Oh, it's December in Colorado. It gets a little wacky. So, hopefully, everyone is doing well, getting ready to set up your week here in December. I think this will be, what will this be? Our second full week of December, I think, probably. Like looking at my calendar here. Yeah, our second full week, right? We had, again, as I always say, if I ruled the world, I would have all months start on Monday because it just would make everything work out so much better with our journals. But I don't rule the world, so we just have to kind of make do, right? So be sure that you set your chat to everyone. You see that little blue box, little drop down box there in the chat. If you are participating in chat, make sure you switch that to everyone. A lot of times it will default to host and panelist. And if that happens, the only people who see your comments are myself and my fabulous stage manager here with us tonight, Katie. So she is coming to us from across the pond where it is probably very late there, right? So she's going to give us a little wave. She's over in Scotland. But yeah, so a lot of times that will pop back and forth. So if you ever post something and you don't see anyone responding, if you had a question or something, like I said, make sure that you have that set to everyone. And it likes to keep flipping back and forth. So keep an eye on that. Let's see here. Just a few community guidelines for folks. We like to go over these each time just to remind you. This is a safe and supportive space, right? So we want you to be kind and courteous both to yourself and to others. No promotions or spam. We respect everyone's privacy. No hate speech or bullying. We limit those repetitive product and accessory questions. If you have questions about like what type of pens do people use and stickers, those kinds of things, the best place to ask that often is in Sonder Club in our app, because then you can get lots of different people responding and posting links and those kinds of things. You're welcome to ask them here, but we just kind of want to try to limit it to the work that we're doing together. If you have any of those customer care inquiries, so if questions about subscriptions, questions about shipping, those kinds of things, those all go to hello@silkandsonder.com. Katie and I do not have access to your accounts. We can't look you up or help you with anything along those lines. So be sure to send that email to hello@silkandsonder.com. Just remember they're a Monday through Friday, 9 to 5 West Coast gig. So sometimes it might take a little while for them to respond back to you, but they will get back to those questions. And then ultimately, these socials are a tool to help elevate your emotional health through the power of community, but you are responsible for your own emotions, well-being, and decisions, right? So if there's ever anything that we're working on that's not your jam, you're really not feeling it, then feel free to not participate in that part, right? You can work on a different section of your journal. You can do some coloring. You can kind of do whatever you would like. This really is your special time. And you have taken a great step in providing yourself some self-care, setting aside this time to work on your journal and getting everything all set up for your week ahead. All right. So as you know, or as you may have seen, hopefully everyone has their December journal. Our theme is celebration, and what a fun theme that is, I think, for the month of December. So many things to celebrate. We're kind of doing these year-end wrap-ups, looking back at, how things went for the year, really this idea of thinking about celebrating, and especially celebrating things like small things, right? I think sometimes we think celebrations have to be big things, but they don't, right? And we're going to talk about that a little bit tonight in our mind map section, right? So here's our agenda for tonight, right? We're going to do what we call a mind map. And I saw there were a few new folks with us. So welcome to our new Sonder fam. Welcome to our returning members as well. So for these weekly setups that we do, we always have what we call a mind map, and it is focused around our theme of the month. So you can spend a little time digging a little bit deeper. Nicole, I'm so glad you got some stickers from the latest Kate. So these are the little pictures there. And this is the latest Kate, are these little pictures here. So we kind of dig into this mind map. We give ourselves some time to dig into the theme. So that's on our weekly setups, right? We'll do the Rosebud Thorn activity that is on page 36 of our journal, right? And Harriet, I'll give you some ideas for where you can do this mind map here in just a second. Then we'll work on some pages in our weekly setup, and then we'll close out, right? And we only have an hour, and it is always the fastest hour. So I always tell people, sometimes people like to participate in the chat. They're giving ideas, they're asking for suggestions, kind of working on all these different things, and that's fabulous, right? But some people, the chat is too much, right? It goes too fast, it stresses them out. So they just turn that off, right? And they just devote heads down, working on those pages in the journal. Some people do both. Some people will take notes on sticky notes and then work on it later. Again, really, this is for you as you work on your journal. And I always use these two little cartoons to remind folks of a couple things, right? So first of all, there's room for you here just as you are. We all know life is a series of ups and downs, right? And sometimes we're up. Great things are happening. We want to celebrate those promotions, those new jobs, new babies, weddings, anniversaries, any of those fun things to celebrate. We're here to celebrate with you. Conversely, we know that sometimes things are not going well, right? We have some frustrating things. We have some things out of our control. Again, those valleys that we kind of go through. So maybe you've lost a job, maybe you've lost a loved one, maybe you're just kind of getting bummed out because there's not as much sunlight in the day as there used to be, right? This time of month can be tough for that. You can share those things with us too. Don't ever feel like something is too sad or too happy to share. We're here for all of that, right? And our feelings, and sharing our feelings, right? And that's why the other cartoon I think is so important, because it says the way you feel matters, and no emotion you feel is bad or unworthy. Nobody can tell you how you should feel about something. No one should say, oh, you shouldn't be upset about that. You shouldn't be mad about that, right? Like, that's your feelings are your feelings. And we're here to feel the feels with you and celebrate the ups, and really console you on the down, be there with you for those downs, right? And to be supportive. So don't feel like you can't share things with us here in the chat. So talk about this mind map, right? And we're celebrating, or we're thinking about things that have occurred in 2023, and we're still in 2023, right? But just a few weeks left. And we're going to do that over 4 different weekends this month. And I know there's technically 5 weekends in December, right? There's 5 Saturdays and Sundays, but that last weekend, we're going to flip over, since it's the 30th and 31st, we're going to flip over to the January theme, which I won't tell you, no spoilers, right? So this week, we are going to focus on what exists in your life today, right now, today, Sunday, December 10th, that you can celebrate, okay? So some folks were asking, where do I put this, right? There's not a specific place in your journal to put this. So you can put this on any blank page in your journal. Some people like to do it on, like that very first blank page that shows up, I think, on page, it's right after that calendar there on page, where is it, 7, right? Some people like, thanks, Kim. Some people like to put it on the very back, the very end blank page. You can totally use that as well. Some people like to use the definition page on page 3. Some people like to use the quote page on page 38. Some people like to do each week on the weekly scratch pad that comes up. Oh, I'm so glad Maureen's here. That's her little Santa page that she did. And I saw somebody else, I think, had their tree page. Whose tree page was that? I was going to scroll back up and say, oh, Valerie. We used her tree. So just so you know, all the fabulous examples that you post in Sonder Club, we are always going through there and finding examples to copy and paste and show everyone, because it is so amazing to see all these fabulous examples from our Sonder fam. So lots of different ways you can do this, right? You could draw just like the little 4 boxes. You don't have to be fancy. Somebody put a fun little sticker with the Christmas tree and everybody decorating it. We've got the fun little Santa from Maureen. We've got the fun little Christmas tree. We've got some balloons balloons to celebrate, right? If you want to kind of add those in there, those are super cute. And then we have, that's Katie's little lights, little twinkle lights that she did with celebration there in the middle, right? So all different ways that you can set up this page as you work on that. So again, remember the question for this week. I love Katie says mine are untangled and all hung up, so that makes her happy with the with her lights there. So again, remember the question for this week is what exists in your life today that you can celebrate. So really thinking about internalizing those celebrations, thinking about what you have right now, look at your somethings to celebrate. And you can focus on one something. You don't have to make a big list. You can make a list if you want. And there's no scale here, big, small. Maybe your celebration was you made the bed today, right? And that you're going to celebrate that. Maybe your celebration was you meal planned for the week and you went grocery shopping. Maybe your celebration is you ate at home today instead of dining out, right? Any of those kinds of things can celebrate. You can also celebrate in categories similar to the intentions. And that's what Katie said she did with hers, is it was kind of like too big to think of. So she kind of tried to go back to the intentions page, which I think is on like page 9. And kind of use those categories. You could also use things like love and kindness, maybe a celebration of someone showed you a kindness, someone let you cut in line at Starbucks, or somebody paid for your, they paid in front. They did the kind of pay it forward thing. Maybe there was a strength and commitment celebration. Maybe you were holding really strong to your commitment to not impulse buy, and you stopped yourself from buying something that you saw on Instagram, right? Maybe it's a health and hope category. Maybe it's a purpose and possibility. Maybe you want to celebrate sunny days. Maybe it was sunny today and you want to celebrate that. Maybe it was snowy today and you want to celebrate that. Maybe you want to celebrate the idea that you took action instead of putting something off. You had that do it now mentality. You said, you know what, I'm going to take this thing off the kitchen table and I'm going to put it where it belongs. I'm going to do it right now. I'm not going to wait until later, right? So this is very similar to showing gratitude, but it's that idea of kind of taking it to the next level and celebrating. So, Crystal is almost finished with current class, definitely something to celebrate. Reapplied to go back to school, right? I was just kind of, the chat goes kind of fast. And so I'll take a look at those when I play a little song. So I'll play a little bit of music. I'll let you work on your what exists in your life today that you can celebrate. I'll put it back here if you want some more ideas for how to set that page up. And then we'll check back in here in just a few minutes. thank you all for sharing your celebrations, small and big, in the chat. I loved the folks talking about setting up their advent calendars and how well that's been working for them. And you still can do that, right? Even though we're on, December 10th, you could still set up an advent calendar for something fun that you could do. Um, for the rest of the time. It could be an advent calendar till the end of the month instead of counting down till the 25th. Again, right? This is all these things that you do for yourself can just be fun for you. No rules, right? So no wrong way to do these things. So again, thank you all for sharing the different things that you're celebrating that are in your life today, right? So again, if you ever miss one of the weekly setups, you can always, and I see people do this all the time, they will post in Sonder Club and say, what was the mind map question for the week? And you will get lots of folks will respond and they will give you that. So don't ever worry about missing out on those mind map questions. They will always have those there. So let's dive in while we're still kind of in this reflecting mode to think about our rose, our bud, and our thorn. We like to do this at the end of every week just to give us a minute to go back and think about what we did this week, because we're all so very quick sometimes to move on to the next week. It's always good to spend just a few minutes reflecting back on the week. So the thorn is something that's a challenge, something that's frustrating. Maybe it's out of your control. It's just it's that thorn, it's that thing that kind of makes you stressed out. So mine has frequently for the last several weeks been work. I work in a in a K-12 school district, and this time of the year, if you're in K-12 world, you know that this time before break can just be everybody is just really super stressed, right? So yeah, Nicole's saying this time of year, it's just it's a lot. So that's definitely my thorn. Our bud is something, an emerging opportunity, something that is coming up, something that you're excited about, something you're looking forward to. And there's a lot of research that talks about the importance of having something to look forward to, even if it's small. Something fun to look forward to really helps us kind of keep going today, right? And so of course, yes, with all of our K-12 folks, we're looking forward to winter break, right? So this will be the last full week in our district before winter break, and then so I'm definitely looking forward to that. Actually, the kids are out. The 14th is their last day, so of course these next 4 days are going to be intense with the schools and the kids and all the stuff that we have to do, but looking forward to winter break. And then a rose is something that's a highlight, something that's exciting, something that's just went really well. Again, it could be big, it could be small. So for mine, we actually last weekend we were in Reno, Nevada, visiting relatives. My husband's sister and her family live out there, so it was great to be able to go out and see them. We hadn't been out since before COVID, so we were able to see the kids. Who kids grow, right? How dare they? We went shopping, Christmas shopping with them, and went up to Lake Tahoe, and it was super fun. We had a great time. So think about your rose, your bud, thorn. Write those down. Feel free to share. I know some folks are sharing in the chat, and we'll check back in here. I'll play just a little bit of music, and then we'll check back in, and we'll keep moving on. All right. So thank you so much for everyone sharing their rose, their bud, and their thorns. We've got some folks looking forward to some interviews that they have coming up. We've got lots of different, holiday pageants, lots of folks waiting for break, folks struggling with illness that, 'tis the season for colds and flus and other funky stuff. So hopefully everyone can hang in there and stay well. So this is always a great, again, this is a good time to fill this out, look back on the week, and then this is a great place to look when you do your monthly reflection. So when you're setting up your January journal, you can flip back through each week and kind of helps you remember what those things looked like for the month. So thank you all for spending a little bit of time and filling that out. So let's dive into that weekly planner, right? Let's get those pages taken care of. So the first thing we want to look at is this week I want to feel. So it is on page 440, right? And I always say that I feel like how I want to feel is really how you want to show up for the week, right? How you want others to see you, how you want to feel, how you want to be, that intention for what you want your week to look like. So it can be just one word. It could be several words. It could be a phrase. It could be a mantra. Maybe it's an affirmation. Maybe it's a sticker. Maybe it's a quote, a picture, something you want to focus on, right? Any of those kinds of things. So think about those words. I see some people kind of putting some in the chat, want to feel festive. I saw some people wanting to feel not sick, right? Wanting to feel healthy, getting over sore throats and those kinds of things. Wanting to feel content, productive, worry-free, determined. I love that one. Joyous, present, focused and motivated, happy, calm, validated, right? So kind of keep those words flowing. And we're going to take that and we're going to move into our weekly major 3 goals. So hold that feeling. And here's some examples of things that people have done to take your 3 goals and tie them in to your feeling, right? So we have someone who wanted to feel present and grounded for the week, and their goals were breathe, move, and notice, right? Because the idea is if they could kind of achieve those goals, then that would lead to those feelings. We have someone who wanted to feel celebrate or celebrated. And so their goals were celebrate health, and they have a way to do that. Walking, celebrate family. They had a family barbecue, celebrate vacationing. They had a vacation that they were taking in Seattle. So that was a nice way to tie in that idea of celebrating. Someone wanted to feel invigorated, and they divided those 3 goals into mind, body, and soul. Someone wanted to feel encouraged, and so they kind of have, I like the 3 little circles joining together for their 3 goals. Someone wanted to feel joyful, and their goals were do, love, and be. So these are fun ways to do it. And we do recommend that you stick with just 3. I know sometimes it's tempting to have more, but a lot of research says that any more than 3 becomes too many. It becomes a little overwhelming, right? So again, some of these people, when their goals are things like breathe, move, and notice, you can have several to-dos that relate into that particular goal. Here's some more examples of things that folks have done. I really like the one in the middle top where they have a left brain goal, a right brain goal, and a no brain goal, right? So the idea, like your left brain is reading, right brain drawing, no brain just kind of staying positive, those kinds of things. Now, if setting goals is not your jam, I know I was talking to my mom about this the other day, and she was like, I just don't ever feel like I want to set a goal. It feels like it's just not my thing. She said, so she would repurpose this section, right? So maybe it's 3 new words that you want to learn. You're learning a new language and you want to have 3 new words, or 3 new vocabulary words you want to pop in there. Maybe it's movies or TV shows that you want to do, a playlist, 3 fun activities for yourself. Again, this is really for you. So think about that feeling that you were listing and think about those goals, right? And then see how you can tie those together. So I'm going to play a little bit of music. Feel free to share in the chat, and I'll cycle through some of those slides so you can see those examples again, and we'll check back in here in just a moment. All right. So hopefully that gave you some time to think about that idea of your feeling and your goals. And again, sometimes for some of you, we're going to go into this next section, but when we get into the to-dos, sometimes the to-dos are what helps inspire your goals. So again, I know we go through this in a certain way, but sometimes if you know filling out one of the other parts helps you feel more focused and able to fill out some of the other parts, again, do what you need to do, right? Do what makes sense to you. So speaking of that, here's our little to-do box over to the left of the 3 goals. So I'm going to give you some ideas for ways that other people have used this that like to do some different things, right? So we have the Eisenhower matrix, which a lot of people really like. So the best way to use this is if you have like a big master to-do list, you can take each piece and then you can plug it into the matrix. So the matrix goes in the 4 little quadrants. So it's something that maybe is important and urgent. So you do that now, right? You have that. That's a definitely, I've got to do that this week. You have something that's important, but it's not urgent. So maybe you plan it. Maybe you do it this week, but you wait till Friday or you put it in for Saturday, right? You've got kind of an idea to plan for how this particular task needs to get done. You've got things that aren't important, but they're urgent. So maybe there are things you can delegate, right? Or there's some cleaning tasks you can delegate to kiddos, roommates, significant others. Are there things you can delegate to coworkers? You know, different kinds of things. Can you outsource, right? Is there a way to kind of outsource some of those things? And then there's things that aren't important and aren't urgent, but they're things you want to remember that you need to do. You want to kind of keep that in the back of your mind. So like maybe like I was thinking one of the things we've been we were kind of digging through the freezer the other day and I was like, oh, I forgot we had this, and like, oh my gosh, we have this. So one of the things that's not important and it's not urgent, but I do want to, I'm probably not going to drop it, right? So, and I don't know if it's important, right? But I might think like, okay, maybe it is important to clean out the freezer, but it's not urgent. So maybe I can plan on a time that I can work on that, right? So drop it or delete it. So there's some examples of some things that other people have done when they have their to-dos. So sometimes just giving yourself that time to write down the things you need to do and plugging it into this matrix can be super helpful. Another thing that Katie and I were talking about, we've seen lots of people really dig in this idea, is having the need, want, and hope list. So you divide it into a needs section, like I need to do this. So maybe things like this person has like a doctor appointment and they have therapy or they have a work thing to do, right? Then there's things they want to do, right? So again, it's things that you want to do, don't necessarily have to do, and then you have a hope, right? So your hope for things for the week. So, and like so this comes from the Silk and Sonder, the little thing on the left comes from Silk and Sonder's Instagram page. And so they say, why should you set it up this way? Because you'll get a better understanding on how best to support yourself. So if you know that you want to feel at peace, right? Again, kind of thinking, you're hoping to feel at peace, kind of thinking about how those tie in, right? All right. So that's one way. Here's some other fun examples of things people have done, right? So I love the now and later, right? They have, here's some things I want to do now or in the next day or two, later this week, right? So a nice way to kind of divide things up. One person has a to-do and a to-da, right? So they have the to-do list, but then they have the to-da for things that they've already done. They have an AM and a PM, right? So that's a nice way to divide things up, right? Yeah, Taylor, I was totally thinking of the now and later candies when I saw the now and later to-dos. There's also work and home. Maybe you have some to-do things for work and home. You have both of these on here. Again, needs and wants, school and personal, kind of thinking about different ways that you want to kind of set up these to-dos. You could also set up a bingo, right? We do love a good bingo. So you could set up a little bingo board that you can kind of put in there. You can, maybe you want to add some of these weekly self-care ideas for if you have 2 minutes, you have 60 seconds, 2 minutes, 3 minutes, 5 minutes, 10 minutes, right? Give yourself some time for that. Maybe you want to have a to be list. So instead of to do, you want to be. You want to be grounded, compassionate, reflective, active, delighted, right? Those are some different kinds of things. So a lot of times I will sometimes just make a list in that little to-do section, but sometimes I'll throw in a bingo. The bingo is fun, I have to admit. You could also make it kind of a fun holiday bingo, or maybe it's a gift bingo, right? You want to still need to either make or buy some gifts for folks. I have to finish up. I knitted one of my sisters this big giant thing that she wanted, that she saw on Instagram or something. Luckily, the person had a pattern. It was actually didn't take too long to do, but I've got to finish that up and then get that mailed out to her, right? So maybe that's definitely something going on my to-do list. So feel free to let us know. Some people, yeah, Valerie's saying she puts a quote that she wants to guide the week, my to-do attitude. I love that idea. So again, lots of fun ways to set this up. Think about what you want to put in here. Feel free to share, and we'll check back in here in just a few moments. Hey, so did you get a good idea for some things to put in your to-dos? I certainly hope so. And the next part that we're going to work on, oops, I forgot to show that slide again. The next part we're going to work on is the habits and activities, which also sometimes tie into the to-dos. So again, that's the kind of thing, as you set up this page and as you become more familiar with it, I know for our new folks, sometimes you kind of have to compartmentalize, right? But for folks who you get used to this, and you can kind of use whichever works the best for you. So these habits and activities. So a lot of people say, well, how is this different from that habit wheel that I do, the monthly habit wheel? So the monthly habit wheel that is earlier in the journal really is for more those things you want to do every single day or most every day, right? And you really want to keep track of that, and you're kind of trying to build those habits. However, this is more of things that are specific for this week, right? So they could be a habit, or more often than not, it might be more of an activity, right? So you can also go back to your December intentions on page 9. Maybe you want to look at that monthly habit tracker on page 11. A lot of people like to fill this out to remind themselves to look back at their intentions, to remind themselves to make sure that they're tracking in their monthly habit tracker. So that's a good one to put in here. You can also see some people fill in 3 lines, right? Some people only put 1. Some people have a just say no habit. So habits of things like deleting emails, decluttering things. I often will put things like unsubscribe from 5 different email lists. You know, it seems like this time of year you buy something and you have to put in your email when you buy it. And then of course it signs you up for all their sales and ads and those kinds of things. So then I have to go back in and unsubscribe because I'm like, I don't need all that email. Right. So you can always have that on there. And then where it says goal, that little line is maybe like how many times you want to you want to do that this week. So maybe you want to do that 5 times this week, or maybe you want to do it twice this week. I always say try to avoid saying, like, here are 5 things I want to do 7 times a week, because sometimes that can become a little too intense. So some people like to do what we call the 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, right? So the first thing is you want to do it 5 times this week, 4 times this week, 3 times twice, and then once. Often I will have the pack a lunch for work, and I try to do that 4 times each week, giving myself a grace day if I want to go out or something like that. But then sometimes it ends up being all 5 days for work, so that's always nice. Here's some other examples of things people have done. Some people are like, you know what, I've already got enough to-dos. I've got enough things in my goals. I am just going to cover this in with stickers. So they've got super fun, pretty stickers in there, right? Totally do that. I love the person in the bottom right. They have on there, I think they might be going on vacation, I think this week or something. And so they have like this fun little cityscape, and then they wrote, nope. Right. So they're not going to track anything on the habits and activities this week. Absolutely fine. Right. Again, this is totally up to you. I also popped in some December self-care ideas. So things like decorating, forgiving folks, buying yourself a gift, expressing gratitude, right? So there's some things that maybe you want to do. Maybe it's things to remember during the holidays. So like setting realistic expectations, prioritizing rest, getting movement in. So that's kind of fun. The one up in the top right is a fun little group that I like to follow on Instagram. They have lots of really fun tips, but they're called Nerd Fitness. So if you are somewhat nerdy like me with like Marvel and comics and games and all those different kinds of things, they're very fun to follow. But they have the mistakes, right? 8 habit building mistakes. So they say things like, if you try to make too big of a change, that's a mistake. If you try to make too many habit changes at once, right, more than 2, if you are not building habits that are both manageable and effective, right? So different things, like you don't want to make those mistakes as you're trying to build these habits. And I know sometimes we get really excited and we think, I'm going to come up with 5 new habits, I'm going to come up with these 5 new things, and then it just becomes a lot. And our bodies don't really like change, and our brains don't really like a whole lot of change. So again, think of how you can slowly move things in. Some people will move over the exact same activities that they had from last week into this week. And hey, if it works, if it ain't broke, don't fix it, right? You can totally bring over this. You don't have to come up with new things, right? This is totally for you. This is all about what's working. If it's working and that habit is still serving you, absolutely bring that over, right? So, oops. So I'm going to give you some time to fill this out. Feel free to share in the chat what kinds of things that you're going to do on this section, and we'll check back in here in just a moment. Okay, so lots of good ideas for that little section. Again, it can be one thing and one thing is enough, right? So, and like Katie was saying, she doesn't always fill in the goal number, like how many times she wants to do it that week, because sometimes it's just too much. Sometimes it works, and setting that goal for how many times you want to do it, that's awesome. But sometimes it can feel frustrating if you don't make it. So feel free to leave that part blank, right? Like put a little sticker, do a little drawing, right? Whatever kind of helps you feel good about the habits and the activities that you are going to complete for the week. So now we're going to flip over to our next page, page 41, and Katie likes to call this the B side, right? It's the flip side of the record. Some people really like to use this section and they make maximum use of it. Some people use it every once in a while, but not terribly often. Some people really don't use it much at all, except for maybe to like doodle or take some notes, right? Again, it's kind of it's good to have, but sometimes you just need some ideas. So I'm going to give you lots of different ideas. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and walk through, well, first we'll do, I'll walk through the meal plan, and then I'll also go ahead and walk through the other two, the mind, body, and the shopping, just so you can kind of get an idea of what that looks like. And we'll kind of get some ideas as we go through. So here's some things that people have done with the meal plan. Now, obviously you can use this to plan your meals, right? That's kind of what it's there for. Now, if you're like me, I have too many things to try to write down. And it's so sometimes trying to plan breakfast, lunch, dinner, and a snack, like I write too big. So, so it's not necessarily great for me, right? Yeah, I know, Chris, use a section as intended. That's one of the things I do tell new people is try it out the way it's intended for a week, see how it works for you. You can always change it up, right? So sometimes we automatically jump to something new and then we realize like, oh, I could have, maybe it actually will work as intended. Some people, yeah, Maggie's saying I use it as a meal tracker rather than a planner. Perfect. Some people like to use it to track different health symptoms, different kinds of health tracking. Some people do their daily debrief in that, jotting down a few different notes for things that they did. Some people like to write down daily scripture, schoolwork, homework, lesson plans, those kinds of things, right? We're not on break yet, so we still maybe want to do that. Some people like to use it for quotes. Some people use it for meal ideas. I have loved the person who's doing the word of the day. We also have some people like to track what they're glad for, right? So something they're grateful for, something they learned, something they achieved, and something that delighted them, right? So fun ways to do that. Some people like to, I like the person who has mindful meals, right? And they have those kind of written down, and then they've color coded their water droplets. So kind of keeping an idea of, are they drinking coffee? Are they drinking water? Are they drinking soda? Are they drinking, I'm not sure what all the colors mean, but right, you get the idea of how you could use that to track. One person put journal prompts and responses. So they have those little sticky notes that can kind of be bent back. And so they have, I feel joy when a time I felt fulfilled and at peace, kind of right in there. You can make a chore list. You can do your appointments. You can use it as a wardrobe tracker or packing list. I love to use it as a packing list when I'm going to go somewhere because it really helps me keep down the amount of stuff that I pack. So I plan out my outfits and what I need to bring. And so that is definitely easy to use. Some people have just kind of like a checkoff list. So kind of like their to-do list, but they plug it in for the daily pieces. I think I saw somebody say they do their daily ritual quotes in that section. So those are all good things to use. 7 types of rest. If you've ever, you can look at the different types of rest that you might need: physical, mental, sensory, creative, emotional, social, or spiritual, and ways that they are going to engage in those types of rest. Feels and meals. So maybe how they're feeling after they ate something, or maybe they're feeling as they're eating something, right? So different ways to kind of track that. A self-care plan, a weekly reflection. Again, all of these different fun things. And I know people are putting kind of popping into the chat with some different things that they like to track in here. So I am going to go through these others, but again, kind of you can keep working however you want to on this section if you want, or maybe you're still back on the other page and working on that. That's absolutely fine. So mind body health plan, I found this kind of a fun little dichotomy thing, right? So how to be unhappy and invert those things for happiness. So things like stay inside all day is how to be unhappy, get outside each day. You can invert that for happiness. Move as little as possible, move, walk, exercise, dance, right? This is a fun little thing to kind of think of. So maybe you want to look at those happiness pieces and you want to kind of track those. And again, you could put these in the meal plan too, right? A fun little idea. And I do want to remind you, I'll cycle through these as we play some music here in just a moment, but I always suggest people take a screenshot or a picture of these slides so you can remember for later. So other fun things to do with the mind body health plan, building a Sunday night routine. You could build any sort of evening routine that you wanted to in there. Maybe you want to track something you did well this week and some ways you've loved others this week. I really like the one down on the bottom left where they had fix a small annoyance at home that's been nagging me. Do you ever have that thing? It always irritates you, but you don't actually do something about it, right? So maybe that's the thing that you plan on doing this week. Maybe it's, they have a button lost, a drawer that's stuck, a light bulb that's gone. Except poor Katie was saying she has a light bulb that's burnt out, but she can't quite figure out what type of light bulb it is or how to get to the light bulb. So maybe that will be on her list this week, is to figure out how to get that light bulb replaced, right? So those are fun ideas. And then the shopping list. Again, these are kind of interchangeable. So I'm just kind of giving you all these ideas to work on these different things. But bingo is super popular, right? Maybe things you want to let go and things you want to invite in for the week. Maybe you want to make sure you're filling up your own cup. So maybe these things like rest, movement, nature, creation, alone time, connection, nourishment, and reflection thing that you want to kind of keep track of. So again, different ways to kind of work on those particular areas. So now I'm going to be quiet. I'm going to cycle through those slides. Let me know if there's anything you definitely need to see again, right? And we'll check back in here in just a few moments. All right. So hopefully lots of good ideas for how to use these sections or not. Right. Again, it's kind of whatever works for you. And I saw a few folks had wanted me to go back to the little staircase piece there. So I put it back on there so you can get a look there. So hopefully everybody's got their screenshots there because we're going to jump on. A lot of people will say, what do I do with this I am loving section? Well, this literally is whatever you are loving right now, right? So it could be books and tea, doing your silk and sonder journaling, me, a few weeks without training, creativity. I put baking Christmas cookies. I did that today. Those are not my cookies. Those are a picture I got from the internet. But I did do some Christmas cookie baking today, and so that's always fun. I like to play my Christmas music, and we're baking cookies and doing pumpkin bread and fudge and doing all that fun stuff for people for Christmas. So been working on that. So that definitely was fun. So I did want to show you a few of the because some people will say, what do I do with these with the daily spreads, right? How do people use these? So here's some examples of things that people have done with these. Things like tracking their highs and lows, doing a brain dump, self-care ideas, things they need to do for the household. I thought this was a really pretty one they have today. They have dance, schedule a grandma play date. They have pickleball on Tuesday, have a nice little quote. They have some other little plans. So some different kinds of things popped in there. Yeah, some people put their affirmations in. Here's another set of examples of some different things that people have done. So really it's kind of up to you for how you want to use it. I use it kind of differently every week, kind of depending on the week. So definitely kind of a fun way to just kind of keep track of different things that make sense for you. And again, if whatever you did last week is working, bring it on over. And I just wanted to mention this page, page 39, because that came before this week, is the currently page. So we always have the currently page in there. And basically, this is just saying currently, right now, it's like a snapshot in time. What are you loving? What are you feeling? What are you enjoying, anticipating, wishing, reading, watching, and planning? So it's just kind of a fun little snapshot of what's going on with you right now. I like to do mine on the 15th of each month. So I have a little calendar appointment that has a little alert that tells me, remember to fill out page 39, fill out my currently page. So you could totally do something like that. Or again, you can leave it blank. It's okay, right? And it is kind of fun to take a look. So please be sure and share your weekly planner with us on the app. Again, I'm saying that's where we get all of our examples, right? They're all real life people examples. So please be sure to take some time and do that. And then we do still have the Refer a Friend program going. You get $10, they get $10. I think they're switching up to something different in January. So keep an ear out for that. They do still have the upgrading to an annual subscription. You pay the entire year up front and you can save $110 for the year. So if you're able to do that, that's awesome. And there is that social survey, the survey about the socials. What do you want to see? Katie's also dropping the links in here so that you can see those as well. So believe it or not, it's always the fastest hour of the day, right? But we have gone through the week. You're all set up. You're ready to go. No Sunday scaries. Love spending time with you here on a Sunday evening. I will go back to that staircase because I saw some people wanted to get some snaps of that. The app is just Sonder Club, right? And I don't know that we actually have a link to it, but if the app for your phone, if you just go into either the iTunes store or the Google Play and just type in Sonder Club or Silk and Sonder, that should come up for you as well. So hopefully everyone's on there and Katie did pop the link in there for the Sonder Club. Also, all of our recordings on YouTube. We record all the socials. The chat's not there, but we can kind of go through things. I think we have over 500 of them up there now, so you can always kind of take a look and see what that looks like. Take care, everyone. Have a fabulous, fabulous week, and hopefully we will see you again at another socials.